Okay, welcome back. So at the end of the last video, I calculated the mean for this random variable x, whose value was determined by the roll of the die. So next, I want to calculate the standard deviation. So to do that, I'm going to add another column to my table here, and in this column, I'm going to square the values of x before I multiply by the probability. So in this case, I'll take 1 times itself before I multiply it by a 6. I'd also get a 6, but 2 times itself is 4. So multiply by its probability, that'd be 4, 6. 3 times itself is 9 times a 6, that'd be 9, 6. 4 squared is 16, still 6. 5 squared is 25. And 6 squared is 36. And once again, I'm going to total this column. I'm going to get something over 6 because I left these with a common denominator. So I'll add 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus 16 plus 25 plus 36. And I get 91 over 6. But we're not quite finished. To get the standard deviation, I'll take this result and then subtract the square of the mean. So that's the answer that I got here, 21 over 6. So I need to take 91 over 6 minus 21 over 6 squared. So you're welcome to do this with your calculator, but I'm going to actually do this by hand. In order to do this subtraction, I'm going to need a common denominator. So I'll multiply by 6 over 6 here. 6 times 91. 6 times 9 is 54. So that'd be 546 over 36 minus 441 over 36 is 105 over 36. So I took this total and subtracted the square of the total that I got in the last step. So if I stopped right here, this would be variance. But I want standard deviation. So standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So sigma is the square root of 105 over 36. So I'll use my calculator for that one. The square root of 105 divided by 36. And that's approximately 1.71. So let me now write down the formulas for both the mean and the standard deviation. To get the mean for a random variable, recall that we multiplied each value times its probability. So this is x times p of x, and then we add those up. And for the standard deviation, we took the square root of the sum of x squared times p of x, and then we subtracted the mean squared. So these are the two formulas that we use. Now let me show you how to do this last one in your calculator. So I'm going to go back to my stat menu and my list. So remember in L3 I multiplied L1 times L2. In another column in L4 I want to square the value in L1 before I multiply it by L2. So this would be L1 times L1 times L2. And of course you could use the square button. So hit enter, and the values here are in decimal form, but that's the same as what I have here. Now remember the next step was to total those. So once again I'm going to quit this screen and then go to the list options and math, choose option 5. This time I want to sum list 4, and we get 15.1. That's this value, 15.16 repeating. So I take that and I subtract the mean squared. So that was 3.5 squared. Oops, let's see. Delete. So I subtract 3.5 squared, and then I take the square root of that result. So square root of my answer, and again, the same result in my calculator as what I did by hand. So really, I would not expect you to do this by hand for more complicated distributions. So that's how you can do this in your calculator, both the mean and the standard deviation. Alright, in the next video we'll do a couple of application problems where we use a discrete random variable and calculate the mean and standard deviation and then interpret them in the context. I hope you'll tune in.